What's your Wikipedia entry? I know that you have
My
2.5. I
Wikipedia
did the
entry.
2.25 special on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
What's the Wikipedia in terms of like, she's the youngest of da-da-da-da?
Oh, I'm the oldest of 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So you think I
And-
wouldn't need more attention, but apparently. Control issues.
People hate control issues except for airline pilots and surgeons. You guys go ahead. Your mother died. That's the
Yes.
significant thing I was looking for.
Oh, yeah,
we
I'm
were
sorry.
looking for mother died.
Sorry, oldest of 4, dead mom.
She died when you were how old?
8.
I watched it on the Jay Shetty podcast. That guy's gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Of course.
Yeah.
And
so
I
wise.
watched it on mute. I don't even know what you said.
And I skipped your parts.
Fuck. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry. I always think it's bullshit when people go, that's the most significant moment of my life. You kind of go, you don't know what the most significant moment of your life was. That's pretty fair and square, the most significant moment of your life.
Yeah, I feel confident saying that. I mean, it was the most formative for sure.
Yeah.
I think. And I don't think I realized that until the last few years of my life. Because I think my early 20s, I was like, you're fine now. Like we get it. It happened. You're good. And then it just comes in waves. You know, grief isn't linear and all the things people say are true. Like I realized.
I know that if I listened to Jay Shetty not on mute.
I know, right?
Yeah. I would have heard that by now.
Well, because even as my career started going better, I was like, I had people saying like, oh, your mom would have been so proud. And I'm like, I don't know that I would have been doing this if my mom was alive.
That's a funny and potentially true thing. What were you like before she died? Do you remember?
I mean, I was 7.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
think-
Like, do you remember any traces of a personality?
I don't remember being anxious, and I don't remember having nightmares really. And I started having really bad nightmares after she died.
Why? I'm kidding.
I know, right?
Why though?
I don't
or
understand.
maybe
You think there was a connection?
Maybe you're lactose intolerant.
I am actually.
Oh,
So,
great,
you know,
right.
it's
Yeah,
a
maybe
it's
you
a real
need to change
toss-up.
your diet. Yeah.
I changed my answer. That's the most significant.
Yeah, it's the lactose.
It's the lactose.
Because I remember being kind of funny before I was 8.
I don't
You know
remember.
what I mean?
I don't remember being funny
You
before
don't?
I was 8.
So you think that it's a comedy as a nervous tick, potentially?
I don't know. From what I've been told by like my grandparents, I was unintentionally funny when I was a kid. I was like a kid who took themselves really seriously, and that's hilarious when you're
Right.
4. So I don't really remember being funny or trying to be funny before that. But you're so young. So how do you know?
So a lot of it is not a direct response, but kind of a direct response to like a new life situation, a new emotional situation, and like just like now I'm this.
Maybe. Yeah, I think maybe. But I also became way more anxious because of it. Like, so terrified all the time of everything. Because you can't tell yourself, like, that's probably not going to happen, or that type of thing doesn't happen. Because you go, no, it did happen.
Yeah, the
It
worst
actually
thing
just-
happened.
the
So,
worst
like,
thing happened-
A kind of bad thing could very easily happen.
Yeah, so it's all on the table.
Yeah.
Now, forever.
Yeah. It opened you up to possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
You
oh,
could
yeah.
yes and way better, because anything it really expanded your horizons of
Yes.
parameters of reality. Comedy's been explained as most of us have kind of a remote or sad mom. Most people in comedy.
Mine's very remote.
I mean, fucking talk
The
about
distance.
Just give us any sort of sign. Hello. What were you doing that you then realized was just a direct, other than comedy? Like, do you find that most of who you are is sort of?
Yeah, I think I'm like hyper vigilant. I think that was something after her death that my life was very different once my dad got remarried, and like I had 3 younger siblings, and I was very scared that something would happen to them, and I became very paranoid about something happening to them. I was very paranoid about something happening to me, to my dad, like to anybody that I cared about.
And you're like 11.
Yeah. And you're like 11. So,
Right.
And like my dad got remarried and kind of like rebranded, you know, like he got to kind of start over and was like
Yeah.
this different guy. And we were just there, kind of. My childhood is so clearly divided between like pre that event and post that event. And things were completely different after that.
My mother was physically abusive throughout my childhood, to the extent that there was times I went to the hospital with injury and had to say I fell off my bike, like that level.
Yeah.
And I got 2 older brothers, and we all deal with it sort of.
It's like being in combat.
We when we get together, we couldn't be 3 more different people, and we love each other, but we don't always all get along at once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we have love.
From a family of 10.
Yeah,
so I get it.
Right? But when we do get together, it's like old war stories.
Yeah.
It's like we have a bond because of that lady that no one else quite understands.
Yeah.
Our wives don't understand it and all that type of stuff. But
Was your dad out of the picture?
My father's still alive. My father's 83, 84 years old.
But when you were young.
Yeah, he was still there. He spent a lot of time on the roof. My father, I've owned a house for 8 years, and I haven't been on the roof.
How much?
I haven't been on the roof yet. I haven't been on the roof.
Would he drink, smoke?
He just was up there coating it or something. It was a flat steel roof, and he would, when you were 2 or 3, you'd go up in this roof. It was because it was one of those houses on stilts. Off the edge was a big drop, and he would tie a bit of rope to your belt and a bit of rope to the TV antenna so you could get right up to the edge. And I still don't. I was up there with him, and I still don't know what he was doing. He was doing something, but he still goes. He rings me now at 84 and goes, "I'm going up onto the roof. If you don't hear from me, if I don't call you in 2 hours, it means I've fallen off." And I'm like, "Why don't you call one of your sons in Australia? Why am I? What am I meant to do at 2 hours? Look at my watch and go, that's the end of Dad."
God damn, it's so. Was she abusive to him in a way?
Well, this is why I got to watch.
Was he passive?
This is why I got to watch what I say, because I believe she was abusive to him, but he
doesn't think so.
He doesn't look back on it like that.
Yeah.
He goes, "What a wonderful marriage and what a wonderful woman, how wonderful she was."
Yeah.
And he's rewritten history a little bit.
Yeah.
He hero worships her a little bit now that she's gone.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to cook one of your mum's old recipes or something like that." She wasn't even a good cook, man. I don't know what you.
So do you think he was passive? Because I have that with my brothers and sisters, because I talked about my dad a lot in 3 Mics, and a lot of them didn't like it because they remember it differently.
Yeah.
Or whatever. They internalize it differently.
Well, I say this on stage, but it's like, so my mother, right for the last 10 years of my mother's life, when my father went to talk, my mother would go, "Shut up, Gary, you're an idiot." Like this, right? Just straight up, shut up, right? Anyway, my mum was dead for about 3 days before me and my brothers got together and went, "Mum was doing some good work there." Because it turns out we hadn't heard one of my father's opinions for a decade.
She was dead. She was of service.
She was helping out society, man.
Yeah.
He's got some thoughts.
Okay, so with the mom thing, how did you make peace with her?
Okay, so my mum, there was a lot of verbal abuse, but there was several physical. She would, if you did something wrong, she would let you think that everything was okay and that you weren't in trouble, and then she'd wait till you were asleep, and you could get woken up being slapped, or she would go into rage and she would just destroy your bedroom, just smash down the bookshelf and the wardrobe and the thing. So it was just like a pile of stuff, and you'd be like 6 or 7 years old, and then she'd go clean this up. And it'd be like 4 a.m. And that was worse than being hit.
Yeah, because it's totally confusing.
There was a panic, and you were asleep, and you were meant to go to school, and you were on top of this pile of just mess. And then she'd calm down, and she'd go, "That's okay, you go to bed. Mummy loves you." And I'm sorry, Mum, I'm sorry. Like, you were just so happy just to have that come back to you.
Yeah,
that she loved you. And then the next day, that would be the cleanest your room would ever get, because she would have remorse, I guess, and have to clean up the whole thing. But she would just trash your whole space.
What do you think why?
She once hit me with a belt buckle end of a scout belt. They got like a real big thing, that type of thing. And so I was a little angry with my dad for years for not physically stepping in, but he was just getting through it as well. But she was a school teacher at my school. Right? So everything in my life is...
So you definitely couldn't tell the teacher.
Everything in my life comes from my relationship with this woman. Everything that I believe that's good and I believe everything that or paranoia and self-hate or all these type of things comes from her as well, right? And so I don't believe I'd be as successful as I am without her, and I believe I wouldn't need therapy without her as well.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's a lot. So I'm really conflicted about even saying mean things about her now, because she put a good work ethic into us.
Yeah.
And both me and my brothers are all successful, and we grew up dirt poor. We grew up poor,
Yeah.
Not making it dirt poor. But my mother was a casual school teacher. My father was a carpenter. And and my brother now is very high up in the police force, and my other brother developed shopping centers all around the world, great big shopping. We've all done all right for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so all three of us credit her, and there wasn't an option for failure. And if you were a failure, you're a loser or this or that. She was very would get right into you, get into your psyche, and tell you that you're a pet. And it was so weird because she was 300 pounds and she didn't move. And it was this big fat lady that would take up the whole living room, right? Always fully reclined in this little tiny living room. The lazy boy's fully reclined in this little living room. And Hank's mother, Kate, she met him. My wife never met her. But Kate was like, "Why are you so scared of this man?" She goes, "Why are you so scared of this lady who can't move?" And then when she said that, I was like, what am I scared of?
Yeah.
She was like a Bond villain that controlled everyone's life from a chair with disappointment and and everyone so eager to please. My father's one of the funniest people I've ever met. I'm including other comedians. And, but he gets into a room and you don't know he's there type of thing.
Right.
My mother has all the stage presence in the world and nothing to say.
Yeah.
And so it could have gone the other way.
Right.
Could have gone the other way, right? My mother, I swear to God, if she walks into a room, everyone shut up. But no matter what the room, is just sort of a bit scared.
People that don't know her.
Yeah, people that don't know her. She had a presence about her that she stopped everything. If you're at a dinner party and then my mother would go, "I have a joke," and you go, and everyone would put down their cutlery.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She had that going on.
I mean, my first thought is, how did it affect your relationship with women? Are you very docile?
So I've said some misogynistic things on stage, right? Oh God, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this.
Yeah.
Okay, I've said some misogynistic things on stage, and obviously, I mean, I'm joking about that. I'm telling jokes. I don't believe all of it.
Right.
But my abuser was a fat woman.
Yeah.
To this day, when I meet fat women, I do have a little bit of trepidation about it. I have a little bit of PTSD. I have a stereotype that is not completely fair, and it's my problem, right?
But totally understandable.
But if you met a woman who was abused by her father and he had a mustache and he was abusive and all that type of stuff, he wouldn't want to marry a guy with a mustache.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with the whole thing.
So you have to marry well-weighted women, the correct weight. You have no choice.
Look, I know I'm in trouble already.
No. But what you just said in reverse, everyone is on their side.
Yeah.
But if a woman says, "I don't want to marry a guy with a mustache,"
the abusive relationship. Okay, so my auntie was also a big fat woman, and my cousins had problems with their mum. You know, they were both pain in the ass human beings
and piggeries.
Piggeries. And so that's the whole thing. That's part of the reason as well that I have to fast, because if I dislike, I can't get fat, right? Because
then you're just as guilty as
then I'm her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's,
What about relationships beyond the size thing? Like, if a woman severely abused you,
the worst thing I can say to my wife in an argument is, "You just like my mother."
Yeah.
That's like if I'm really digging in the heels in an argument.
Yeah.
If we get into an altercation, I say, "Oh, you're just like my bloody mother." The things you say like that. She's never met my mum, but she knows fight's on if I've said that.
Is that?
And my mum's name was Carolyn. And my son's my 11-year-old's very funny with his mum, right? If his mother gets all worked up and angry at him or something like this, he'll go, "All right, Carolyn." It's like
Great.
she's become like synonymous with like painful people.
Enmeshed.
Very, very close to my mother growing up. And
How come?
I think my father was not. And so there's almost like you become a substitute spouse. You become very close emotionally with your parent.
He was not around, or he was emotionally not around?
Emotionally not around. You become very close to I became very close to my mum. And so that was a huge part of my childhood and adolescence and growing up. I mean, it really kind of follows you through. She died when I was about maybe 26. And that grief is a huge part of my sort of life and was a big turning point in terms of sort of pushing the fuck it button on going. I had a separation anxiety in my life. My biggest fear was my mother leaving. There was an incident when I was, I think I was 3, and my mother's twin died.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had to leave to go to the funeral. No one really sort of told us what was going on. And we kind of left with our father for a couple of days. And I thought, that thing with kids, you think it's forever.
Yeah, it's object permanence is what they call it. That it's
cannot
why
see.
people play peekaboo.
Yeah.
They go, I am here, or I'm gone, and then you go, and then you go, I never leave.
Yeah.
I am always with you, even when you can't see me.
I think the sadness of that death, which I wasn't aware of, but you get
you feel it.
You feel it, and you don't know what you're feeling. You don't know what's going on, but you go, something's shifted, something's sort of changed in this. The sadness of that, and then her being away, I was kind of always very worried about that. And so when she died, it was the worst thing. I mean, it was just, grief.
How did you? Okay, well, let me ask this: was it? So maybe the boundaries weren't great. Meaning, if she takes you on as a surrogate spouse, probably not the healthiest thing for a mother to do.
I know far too much about everything. Far too much.
Middle-aged women's bodies and stuff like that?
Everything. I know way too much about that. So, but always had great relationships with, I think probably.
But she palpable love.
Oh, and was so fucking funny. Had incredible charisma. Was incredibly depressed. I always think the only question to ask a comic, and really I think you should open with it every week on this show, if I had one note, which of your parents was sick? Every comic we know, everyone you've ever had on this show, which of your parents was sick and you had to make it okay?
Yeah, I mean, that really is like
terrible
the
atmosphere in the house. How are you going to learn how to change the atmosphere? How are you going to learn the thermostat is very cold. You need to make things a bit warmer and nicer. I remember really clearly as a kid, like my mother was cooking some maybe Christmas or whatever. And I said, I'm going to go and watch this thing. She went, whoa. You stay there. And I went, I'm not doing anything. She went, for vibes. You're there for vibes. You're making this all okay. And that thing of like, you fulfill that role.
You're a mascot.
And then you slightly go, well, you're drawn to doing that. In adult life. But she was incredibly funny, no sense of kind of embarrassment, and was a larger than life kind of Irish woman from Limerick. Nora was her name.
Great.
Just a wonderful, great company. And then I thought it was just so normal. You always think your life is so normal.
Yeah.
So you think getting home from school and your mother still being in the dressing gown and hasn't got up and hasn't got herself together.
Cool.
And isn't taking care of herself physically. Mm-hmm. You don't want to give anyone a hard time. It's kindness in the moment where you let it go and you never question. Like, why are you not taking care of yourself physically? Why are you not?
Are you aware that an adult is supposed to, or you don't even know that that's what adults do?
I think you do when you start to be more aware of the outside world. Maybe it's from
you go to friends' houses.
7 to 14. You see their house. You see how they're living, and it seems different. But also, it will seem less fun. People always came to my house. I remember having this thing of like.
So you didn't have that thing where you were ashamed of bringing people back?
No, like I would have that thing of like, I would get home to my house. I remember like being at university and getting home, and my friends, sort of Giles and Phil and Gerard.
Those are not just random British names.
Those are real people.
Actual friends.
And Hiroshi. Being in my house, having get home, and they'd be at home having coffee with my mum. And you go,
you didn't invite them?
No, they would just everyone would just drop by each other's houses or whatever. But you'd go, what? But we were just chatting. Fine. You got her an hour ago. Don't worry about it.
Do you feel proud of your mom in that?
Yes. Like could hold a role, was like super, super fun.
You're super close. She's a bit of, you guys are probably the co-life of the party, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think we had a great time. The block on that is I didn't have any relationships growing up at school and college. Didn't have
friends? You did not?
Lots of friends, lots of girls I got on with. never really had a girlfriend growing
Was
up.
it because you didn't want to replace her?
And looking back on that, I think that was I was slightly blocked from that because of a very close relationship with it. Kind of no one was good enough, and there was kind of it's a slightly weird thing being enmeshed. It slightly feels like maybe a little bit too close there to let someone else in. So, that was an issue, I think, growing up.
Was it a thing that you were aware of in the time, or you?
Yeah, I was aware that there was kind of something missing there, something kind of. I mean, I also think. I mean, to be honest with you, when you kind of look back at high school as well, I think it was that thing of I grew up in an era where it was very, what would you say, unenlightened in terms of courting. Like, so guys kind of were kind of pushing it with girls a little bit. And I was very, very uncomfortable with that dynamic always. So you got probably a good thing in some respects.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
Yeah, and very drunken and very,
Yeah. I was tiny, and like at parties, I'd be like trying to score what we used to call score with women.
Sure.
And it was like, I remember girls like physically overpowering me. Like, you're not, no, you will not do that, which is so fucking, I'm so tiny.
I wonder with that as well, with the, growing up in that era, I mean, you end up having lots of, it's fun growing up and you don't feel quite comfortable in your own skin. You don't really become yourself. I think it's like, I don't think people talk about this enough. Your mind isn't developed fully till you're about 25.
Yeah.
And I really felt that switch.
Which we didn't know until like 8 years ago.
Yeah, but it really makes sense to me. It really makes sense of like going, there's such a hurry to get to someplace to make all your big decisions before you're 25, and it's a race. And you go, well, no, get yourself an education, but everyone is an autodidact, right? No one is still using the education they got. It just needs to give you a love of learning. Even doctors, like the best doctor ask him how much he's using that he learned at medical school. If it's anywhere more than 10%, the guy's a dummy, go to a different doctor.
Not a good doctor.
They're constantly
it's a bit
relearning.
like we're always learning the last war. It's like you fight the last war. Like you fight in Iraq, you fight with the stuff you picked up in Vietnam.
Right.
And so it's always like old
it's always
information.
Politicians are trying to fight the last election. You never get to fight that one again.
Yes.
You always have to go with your ability to learn and pattern recognition, which is what comics kind of our superpower is what gets you there.
What's it like when you go to university with your mom?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
In close touch too, or was it the
very
first time
close
you were
touch,
not in the same house?
Close touch, but like, she didn't take good care of herself. She died when I was 26 of pancreatitis, which was a gallstone. I mean, it's really silly. No, gallstone's not that serious, but if you don't get it treated straight away, and it was the wrong side of Christmas, she wanted to wait till after Christmas, and one burst, and you get the pancreatitis, which is a horrible way to go. It's like 9 months of agony.
It's cancer, or it's
no, it's pancreatitis. Your pancreas just blows up,
and you can't.
And normally it's for
clean it
alcoholics
up, so to speak.
Normally alcoholics get it, so I imagine quite a lot of it in your family.
The guy does listen.
Yeah.
And was she bedridden like very bedridden at that point?
Yes, she was in intensive care the whole time. We had like 2-3 conversations for 9 months. She was on actually the staff at the hospital were fantastic because it's all about, at that stage, they say there's no such thing as euthanasia, but there is. So they put
a form of it.
Well, they put them on a level of, so she would have had an epidural for the pain. And then it just gradually sort of shifts up to where your lung function goes to nothing. So there's they tell you sort of, 5 hours in advance, 6 hours in advance of the death. Oh, it's going to be today. It's going to be this time. And they the week before it's going to be next week.
Yeah.
And
it's
weird as well, the way the mind, I remember on the first week there, I met a young doctor and the doctor went, this is just, there'll be ups and downs, but this is it. This is it, man. And it was very kind of him. I totally forgot the conversation. I mean, totally blocked it out.
For that 9 months, you forgot.
And then went, oh yeah, no, that guy said, oh yeah. And then it's a weird thing with grief. When you know it's coming, you know they're going to die, and then they die, and you go, ah.
Okay, so when she dies, around the time she dies, did you feel a little liberated or total devastation?
Very liberated. It was and totally devastated. But the liberation was more like, the thing I feared since I was a baby had happened, and it didn't matter. Nothing mattered.
You've escaped from jail in a way.
Well, but the ability to go out and do what you wanted to do and not care what anyone else thought. So a lot of me going to Cambridge, a lot of me like getting into the best university and doing well and getting all my exams and things was to she used to refer to me in the biblical term of, like, she got religious when she got older, very Catholic, and she would refer to me as my son in whom I am well pleased. In kind of an ironic, kind of fun way, but like she was really proud of that. It really meant a lot to her. Like the bragging rights for parents. Your kid getting into Cambridge means so much more than for the kid. For the kid, it's like, I went to university in the 1950s. Like everyone else was partying and doing ecstasy at university, and I was having sherry at a drinks party. We're going, the fuck is all what?
Yeah.
It was a weird place to go.
And
like
everyone there is sort of having the same experience?
Everyone there, I mean, it's where I believe they invented imposter syndrome in Cambridge University, because everyone gets there and goes, but I was the smartest kid in my school.
Right.
The fuck?
Hey, did you like that? Did you like that? Yeah, did you like it though? You want more? Don't want to work? Would rather watch videos of me grab-assing with people? First of all, go up here to subscribe, and then go up here to watch more clips. This is like when the weatherman says there's a high pressure system coming in.